Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Anyhow, happy 70th birth. Is it 70th? Oh God, terrible, terrible. I can't remember these things. Anyways, happy birthday week to David Gilmour. Okay, from Pink Floyd. That solo, I think we all swore. I think it sounds pretty good on the Strat, doesn't it? Neck pickup on the Strat. Apparently, it was played on a Les Paul, and apparently I don't like Les Pauls, so I didn't want to pull one on for this show, so I played it on the Black Strat. The Black Strat, well, not close to David Gilmour's Black Strat, but anyhow, cheers everybody, happy Sunday. Um, you know, it is Sunday, it's March, it's daylight savings time. A lot of people think that we should do away with daylight savings time. I might be one of those people, but whatever. It doesn't affect me like other people do. I mean, I just you just change. I've got one of those old analog, old guy alarm clocks that you hit and snooze, that kind of thing, and you have to change the time on that, right? So I just changed the time when I got home last night, which wasn't. Thank you. By the way, I had a gig last night with Mike and Mike, Brad, and Mac in a band called Power Glide, and great band, was a great hang, great gig. Bad thing happened in the parking lot beforehand, which I'm not going to talk about now. But um, if I meet you in person at a gig, I'll tell you that story. But thanks, Power Glide. Excellent gig. Um, Lots of classic rock, and got to shred, and I didn't have to sing, so that was great. Didn't want me to sing? No, it's okay. Anyhow, where was I going with this? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, great gig last night. Subbing in is awesome. I'm gonna do a little story on subbing in on my TikTok videos. I'll talk about how to prepare yourself for subbing in. But yeah, I mean, David Gilmour had a black Strat. I'll say, because he sold it off. I was just amazed that he didn't care that much about his iconic guitars. And I guess if you're the guy who's playing them and it's your tool, maybe you don't really care about that. It's just a guitar, and I've got another guitar here. I met Rudy Pensa. Rudy Pensa. If you know who Rudy Pensa is, he owns Rudy's guitars in New York. It's Rudy's Music, I think. I can't even remember what the store is called. I'm sorry, but it was a bucket list thing for me to go see Rudy's when we visited New York City some years back. And luckily for us, the first time we went to Rudy's in Soho, Rudy walks in, and I get to meet Rudy. And I don't think a lot of people in the store cared, but I was, for me, it was like meeting Santa Claus or something like that, because I just I've seen him in so many interviews with people, and Mark Knopfler and all that, and then we sat there, most amazing guy ever, and he told me the story. He's a huge Beatles fan, and Jacob was younger then, and he and him bonded. We were talking about Beatles stories and stuff like that. He has some great stories about the Beatles, but I just asked him, you know, so have you seen McCartney lately? And he had this sad look on his face, and he looked at me and goes, you know, all the years, he's the biggest fan, it's his idol and everything. All the years he's been in New York City, with his store he had his 48th Street store, which is closed. All the stores are gone from 48th Street, and he's in Soho, and he's also in Scarsdale is the big store now. McCartney never came into his store, and he's never met him. And Rudy actually has a house in Italy that's in the same town where McCartney has a house, and he actually, when he finds out that McCartney's in town, he goes hangs out at the grocery store. Hopefully, McCartney will walk by, and he has never met him, which is blows my mind because that Rudy's is an iconic store in New York City, and he's never seen, even back in the earlier days of Wings and stuff like that when he was around. He's never met him. But he said that he doesn't need anything. Like he's not going to go buy a guitar or look for vintage guitars. He's got everything he needs. He's seen everything. He's seen all vintage. He doesn't. They're not vintage guitars to him. There is stuff that they used back in the '60s. That they recorded. So he doesn't care. So Rudy even built him a Pensa Shure, Shure guitars. Got this start with at Rudy's place. He's called them Pensa Shure guitars, and Rudy Pensa, John Shure, and he built a custom Pensa guitar, and Pensa guitars are beautiful guitars. Custom Pensa guitar, left-handed. So, and trying to get McCartney into his store, and never came in. He ended up selling the guitar or whatever. But he had some great stories. But the reason why I told the story about that, about McCartney not caring about, as I drop stuff on the floor, McCartney not caring about buying stuff is, the same kind of thinking that David Gilmour had about his guitars, and he just said, okay, well, I'm going to auction them off. And he auctioned off the Black Strat, which looked like, well, when the Black Strat was brand new, I'm going to turn my amp off because it's making lots of noise behind me. The Black Strat, when he bought it on 48th Street, at Manny's on 48th Street, right across the street from Rudy's. But basically, it didn't look like it had a rosewood neck, and I think the final version that everyone knows and loves about the Black Strat had a maple neck like this one, and it had the white pickups, white hardware, but the black pickguard, which was it's a beautiful look, and I'm gonna redo one of my Strats like that in honor of David because it's a beautiful look. But didn't care. He auctioned that off. $3.9 million he got for the Black Strat in an auction that went to charity. Wow. I don't know who owns it. It's probably the guy who owns the Indianapolis Colts. I think he has the biggest guitar collection now of iconic stuff like that. The collectible stuff that people have played and stuff like that. But that and the number one Strat went for $1.8 million, I think. David Gilmour owned the Strat that has the serial number 1. It's not really the first Strat, but I think in the earlier days they had some prototypes in that, and they just numbered them 1, 2, 3, and that, and it was one of those ones. Basically, it wasn't the first production Strat or anything like that. But yeah, I didn't care. Didn't care about the stuff. But here's the thing about David Gilmour. He comes from an age like anybody who recorded in the '70s comes from an age of just experimenting with sound. Everybody remembers the scene in Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen movie, where they're swinging an amp back and forth in the studio. It's hanging from a rope and it's swinging, and they're getting a sound out of that. That's experimental stuff. With tape and that kind of thing. And these days there's so much technology. Jacob, my son's learning a lot of stuff about recording and stuff, and we have our weekly phone calls where he tells me about what he learned and stuff like that. It's just so cool, that kids are excited about audio and sound and stuff like that. But even though we have all this technology and it's all digital and all this cutting and pasting and stuff like that, I was just watching Beato's video with Ian Thornley, and they're still experimenting. Like, even though all this technology is they're being dialing in sound, they're dialing in stuff just with the old style pickups and the amps and the tube amps. And I don't think this is ever going to go away. Everyone talks about modeling coming in for amps and stuff like that, and I don't know. I played a gig last night with my Mesa Boogie tube amp, and I don't think I could ever play with anything else. It's just there. You turn up your volume on your guitar, and the sound hits the room. I've never had that with transistors and modeling and stuff like that, which I used for a long time. But yeah, I just don't think the experimentation for music and just getting that creative process. Here's where music and the regular world there's a very large division line there. You know, you can have some technology that makes, you know, cups, coffee cups. You have some technology that spits out this coffee cup in a factory. Maybe I don't know how they were made. I don't know how they're made, but we have technology for recording music. But it's a creative process. We're still you walk in the studio to record your album. It's a blank canvas, and we use all this stuff to be creative, and that's amazing to me. That's amazing to me because you could just we could just cookie cutter music, couldn't we? And some, you know, some pop music's like that, right? But it's just amazing to me that, you know, all this technology, you can just prefab. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm maybe this is a discussion about AI, and this is why I don't think AI will ever work, because, you know, that creative process and that whole human quality of music is really what this is all about, and that's why we love Pink Floyd. That's why we love Led Zeppelin. That's why we love Elton John, because that music was just recorded live off the floor. You know, if you ever want to hear something that would never be recreated ever in the world of music ever again, listen to a song called Jungle Land by Bruce Springsteen. It's a if you're a Springsteen fan, that's a pretty big song in the set. It's huge. If you're just you know, a dabbler in Bruce's music, you might not know that song too well. But there's a breakdown, just the whole musical breakdown from the sax solo to it comes to this big breakdown where he's singing in the piano with just the piano, and then it comes back in. I don't think you could ever record something like that ever again and get that kind of drama. And there's no click track on that. They're just sitting there in the studio and they came across that. And I think that's the beauty of music, and will always be phenomenal. Keep creating stuff and keep your ears open. That's all I have to say. Keep improvising, keep doing what you're doing, and play guitars that look like this, because relic guitars means they're broken in already. Yes, I bought it like this. They're broken in already. They feel like this, and I don't care if I didn't put this mark on here. It feels freaking good. Anyhow, authenticity, guys. Anyhow, that's my show for this week. Go record something. Be creative when you're doing it. And anyways, cheers, and here's my cold coffee, and happy spring. It's coming soon. March. It's March break. Do something with your kids. Take it easy. See you. Bye.